Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for our alumni webinar series. I'm really excited to be here today. My name's Dr. Jamie Salter. I'm a senior lecturer in sports science and injury management within the School of Science, Technology and Health. I predominantly work on our BSc Sport and Exercise Therapy program. My background is a strength and conditioning coach, and I work on our rehabilitation modules, injury prevention, strength and conditioning, that type of, getting our athletes back from injury back onto the pitch, the court or the track. I'll introduce Connor shortly, but I had the pleasure of teaching Connor for his 3 years with us, and then kept in contact since. So I've been asked to host this webinar as a result of having good experience with Connor whilst he was here on his journey, but then being in touch with him since graduating. So this webinar is part of the YSJ Alumni series called Alumni Journeys, Creativity, Careers and Community. And just before I introduce the actual speaker, which is Connor, there's a few little housekeeping rules around Q&A. So we've got a little bit of question and answers at the talk. We've prepared these questions in advance, but if you have any specific questions that you'd like to relate to Connor after this, please do email alumni@yorksj.ac.uk, and the team will pass on your questions and we'll feed that back to you shortly after. And there is an auto transcript appearing at the bottom of this. Hopefully it's picking up my dulcet Yorkshire tones. And that's for increased accessibility. However, it may not translate perfectly. There are some errors when we do this. So hopefully you can put the two together of what it should say and what I am saying. And hopefully between Connor and I, we're speaking fairly clearly. That's pretty much it from me. You'll hear more from me at the end, but I'm not going to talk on too much because you've come here to listen to Connor. So I'd just like to informally and formally, I guess, introduce Connor Crowley. Connor's a graduate of our BSc Sport and Exercise Therapy program. And Connor's then going to take it away, give you a little bit more background about himself and then what he's been doing since leaving St John University. Over to you, Connor.
Right, thank you very much, Jamie. So yeah, I'm Connor Crowley. I graduated York St John last year, 2022. Basically, I decided to go to York St John because when I was having a look at universities, like the graduate rate for sport and exercise therapy was really good, and also that's something that's a big factor in when you're taking into your considerations about different universities and whatnot. I really enjoyed my time at YSJ, like both the social aspects, there's a lot of clubs to go to, like the rugby's, the rock climbing, all that type of thing. But I really enjoyed the educational side of things. I thought the classes were really intriguing and engaging, and always something new to learn. I don't think there was a time at university where I knew more than what I didn't know. So that was really good. And plus the lecturers, like Jamie and Dale, really nice people, and they know what they're talking about. So it's really good when you kind of got that experience to teach you. So in all, like my time at YSJ was really good. From leaving YSJ, I think I graduated and I sort of worked a normal job for a couple of months. I got an email from Jamie about an opportunity to go and work in La Linea in the south of Spain with a football academy called Atletico San Jorge. And obviously getting that email, I had to jump at the opportunity to apply. So I got back in Jamie, asked a few questions, and then I ended up emailing the owner of the academy, Chris, and then the head coach, Jamie, at the time. And then sort of got talking back and forth, got an interview in place, which was pretty much just a standard, straightforward interview. Sort of talking about you as a person, skills, what you do and don't know, pretty much a basic interview. But then at the end, so I had a more informal chat with them. We got to see how they are as people, what their plans for the academy was, because they just moved into a different section of Spain. So that whole transfer was a new process for them. So it was like I was joining that. And then, yeah, I think about a week later, I got the job, which was a nice surprise, but also a bit of a hectic surprise because then I had 2 weeks to basically get everything sorted and move to Spain, which obviously is an absolutely amazing opportunity to do. And if anyone ever gets a chance to sort of work abroad, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, so I spent the next 2 weeks back in contact, back and forth, going over things that we need out there, because obviously we were brand new accommodations and facilities. So a lot of it was just rehabilitation and therapy equipment. So that was a lot of planning to get a lot of things put into place, and then obviously sorting out all the stuff to get out there. And then I think on the 1st of October, I went out and pretty much hit the ground running, which was quite good. Just slid right into work. So when I first got there, it was a new group of players sort of roll in and out every 3 months. So basically at the start, I just did an initial assessment, see where everyone was at, see where we need to go from there, and in terms of like the strength, the conditioning side, sort of things, and then also on the sort of therapy side, who has an injury, who has pre-existing conditions, like who's got niggles, who's got worries, and then anything that I needed to be aware of. So that's basically my first week, just running tests on all the players every day, just see where they are. And then I sat down with the head coach and the assistant coach, talked through what I thought the players needed. They gave their input, which obviously I always take into consideration, because there's people out there with more experience than you, and they see things from different angles. So it's refreshing to sort of get that advice and that input. But we also agreed on what needed to be done. So I started putting things into plan, sort of creating schedules, training programs, rehabilitation for those who have current injuries, pre-injury, injury prevention for those who didn't but had concerns. And I sat down with the players. I went through, so this is what I've picked up on. This is what I think you need to do to achieve such and such goals. And then we sort of sat down and spoke to the players about what they wanted in terms of strength and conditioning. So being young footballers, they all typically wanted this, similar sort of thing. So just to be stronger, to be faster, to be more fit, to have better endurance. So it wasn't too much work in terms of creating vastly different programs. Obviously, most of them were different, because different people react differently to training. But I think it were definitely important to get sort of their sort of desires out of it as well, because the training tends to go a bit easier when you've got what they want to do mixed in with what you want them to do. Sort of like a Trojan horse, you get them to do the work, but make them think that it was their idea. So yeah, where to go from there? So after that, I just started going to training every day apart from Saturday and Sunday. So I did it in shifts. So if we had a game Sunday, Monday would be recovery, Tuesday would be high intensity, Wednesday would be medium, Thursday would be high, Friday would be low, recover Saturday, and play or normal training Saturday morning, and then play the games on Sunday. So that sort of thing that I felt at the time, and I still do feel at the time, well now, but that sort of intensity breakdown, it's important to have. Obviously, you don't want to start too low and get high towards the end of the week, or go straight off high after a game. You need to give the players recovery, but then you also need to break up the intensity. So don't do high one day, high the next. You need to break it down, otherwise then players are going to fatigue quicker and burn out, and they're not really going to put 100% into the training. Yeah, so it was sort of my day-to-day routine was waking up, going to training for 2-3 hours, coming back, doing some paperwork, filling up forms of what the players had done, what they worked well at, what they didn't, so what they need to work more on. Then after that, we go into a strength and conditioning session. Could have lasted 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the sort of intensity of the session. So sort of lower intensity lasted longer. The higher intensity, because obviously the heat out there is different to the heat in England. So normally the high intensity is a killer. So we kept them sessions shorter. And then after that, just you see the people with injuries or little niggles that they're concerned about. So I do sessions with them and sort of put their mind to ease, or help them see that they are making progress. Yeah, and then sort of while I was out there, I got an opportunity when the head coach moved to another club, a professional club in Gibraltar called Manchester 1962. I sort of got an opportunity to go and work with them while I was still working with Atletico San Jorge. So I was doing strength and conditioning and a bit of physiotherapy for Man 62. But while I was there, I wasn't the only physio, so I was working with a Spanish physio, and he was really good. It was nice to not be the only physio there, and also I got to learn from his experiences, sort of see techniques that he's learned and picked up on for over the years, because he was a bit of an older gentleman, but he was really good. So obviously I had that experience to help teach me and pick up and learn new things as well, which was really good. But not only just like on physio techniques and whatnot, but just cultural aspects of it, working with someone from a different country and not having much in common, but learning from each other. I thought it was a really cool experience. And then I'd go to the training to do the strength and conditioning for them, and then pre-match warm-ups, cool downs, whatnot. And it was really good. From there, I sort of made quite a lot of connections around Gibraltar, and I started to do fill-in work for other clubs. So if the physio couldn't make it, it's not really a lot of physios in the football clubs out there. They sort of recycle them. So if someone couldn't make it, I'd get called and go and do them. So if you can go to Gibraltar and do some physio work out there, there's a lot of opportunities. So I won't say no to it. But yeah, and then obviously working through there, building up contacts was really cool. And then I started working for Gibraltar Rugby, doing physio and S&C for them. So my time out there got quite busy between the academy, the football clubs, the rugby clubs. But then I still picked up more work. And I think while you're first starting off, you kind of get a little bit greedy. Let's say, just for like all the work that you can do. It's sort of, you've been working on this degree for 3 years, and now you've got the opportunity to go out and do it. You kind of want to take it all in, learn as much as you can from the different settings, different working environments, the people that you're working with, because they all have different skills, different methods, different techniques that you can learn and pick up from. So I think it's quite useful if you can sort of, maybe while you're still at university, go into a clinic or something like that and just ask if you can do some weekends like shadowing or something like that. Normally they will say yeah, and it's really good sort of work experience as well. But yeah, so kind of from there, towards my end of the stay in Spain, I went and worked in Morocco for a couple of weeks with a football club out there, which was really cool. Again, just different cultures, different working habits, different lifestyles. So it's good to sort of get out and see. And then, yeah, I sort of focus more a bit on the academy back at the end, and a rugby club in Gibraltar, a professional team called the Buccaneers. So I was getting a lot of physio and S&C in there, which I thought quite helped, because some of the stuff that I was doing with the rugby players translated quite well for S&C for the footballers and vice versa. So you sort of get those different methods that are applicable to both sort of the sports, which kept it fresh, unique for the training. And then I came back from Spain and started working in England, where I worked for football clubs in England and Wales. I was supposed to go down and work in Wrexham, but that didn't go through. So I just picked up some sort of lower league football clubs in Wales where I do S&C for. I'm currently working for a football club in London where I do S&C and physio privately. And then I've got a few private clients that are still in Gibraltar and in England and Wales where I do S&C plans, rehabilitation plans, sort of lifestyle and nutrition. So I think I've got 23 people a month at the minute, which is busy, but good busy. Which is another thing. If you sort of want to get into this line of work, you know, like sport therapists, a strength and conditioning sort of qualification goes like hand in hand. Jamie, he was a background, got a good background in strength and conditioning. I'm sure he can tell you if you can sort of get into that aspect of it as well. It kind of puts the pay up, which is always a nice incentive. But yeah, so currently I'm doing a lot of private work for clubs and just different athletes. I did some work in the GHA, so the Gibraltar Hospital, while I was out there as well, which was really good. Very different to working in a British hospital, but if you want to go into hospital settings, obviously, depending where you work, the settings and sort of work habits are very different. But yeah, so that's kind of my career journey so far, and I've got a few things in the line for the next few months, which I'm really excited about. I've been in touch with people at Sheffield United, and there's potentially an opportunity for me to go and work there for a little bit, which would be absolutely amazing because I'm a massive Blades fan. And I think the thing I'm most excited about is working with rock climbers, because the injuries and sort of a lot different to football and rugby. Like a lot in football is lower limb orientated injuries, so you get a lot of like MCL, LCLs, ACLs, a lot of calf problems, hips. Not many sort of upper body injuries, but obviously in rock climbing it varies from the fell of injured a lower limb. And then they got a lot of finger, hand, elbow, shoulders, upper and lower back, sort of neck injuries. And I think just for me and my career alone, I think it's a very interesting sort of move to make. And I think that's what I'm going to progress the most from is a change. So I think that is my career journey as of yet. And I look forward to seeing where it's going to go.
Brilliant. Nice one, Connor. I appreciate you giving us that lowdown. I think from what I gathered there, just listening to is how broad the journey might be once you've graduated. So obviously people will be watching this now and think, I want to be a sports therapist, and kind of got a couple of questions for you on that. But just on before, it's really important that people see that a sports therapist is a really diverse role. You mentioned there, doing pitch side first aid. You've mentioned doing like S&C. You mentioned doing rehab, treatment in a hospital. That kind of stuff. So it's really diverse. So and you can, as you say, you can kind of go down whichever line and avenue you want with it once you've got that skill set. I think the question that I had is, again, and this might have changed in the different roles that you've had since graduating, but how much of your time would you say you spend in like a clinical room treating people on like a massage bed, which from my experience is what people think sports therapy is, versus how much time do you spend in a gym or on the pitch with athletes? How would you, for percentage wise, what would you say?
See, I agree. When I first started, I thought it'd be a bit more sort of clinical setting, but I'd say it's split between all the different things, maybe like 30 to 40% at the most.
Yeah,
at like the very most in the clinical, but it is mainly gym, pitch side, base stuff. A lot of the I mean, with footballers, I'm sure you're aware of, they like to be pampered a little bit. So that's mainly where most of the clinical setting on the massage tables comes in. But to be honest with you, a lot of the time, I'd say it's probably about 60% out on the pitch, out in the gyms, out in the different settings,
Yeah.
actually doing more hands-on stuff.
Yeah. And I think like people could, again, people listening might think, well, like I want to do more like clinical work and you can go into that. So if you decide to go
Oh,
down
yeah,
the
definitely.
private practice type role, that might be for you. Whereas just from your experience, from what you said, a lot of it was outside of that clinic room on the pitch, working with athletes or in a gym, that kind of thing. And I think that's equally appealing to other people. You can have a little bit of both, or you can have one or the other, really, depending on where you see yourself. The other question I had was around as a graduate, and one of the things that I've come across is you guys feeling ready to be that person. If it all goes wrong on the pitch and somebody gets injured, everybody looks to you as the trained medical practitioner. So how have you managed that in terms of someone goes down with a nasty head injury from a header or something like that, and everyone looks at you and goes, right, Connor, you're up. Like, how have you managed that kind of expectation and responsibility?
To be honest with you, when I did first start, that was sort of the intimidating aspect of it. Like, I really hope no one gets injured, because if they do, then you've got to kick in and get into action. But I think it just comes with having a bit of self-confidence, and actually, you've done your training, you've done the education, you know what to do. It's just actually once you start to do it, it helps. So it's just that initial, someone's gone down with a head injury, you've got your first aid kit, you know what you need to do, you pick up, you run on, and you assess the injury, and then you treat it as appropriate. But I think it is just having a little bit of faith and getting stuck in with it that will help me. But once you do sort of do it, you see that, if someone does get hurt, it's not really an intimidating thing of everyone all eyes on you anymore. It's sort of a time to shine sort of moment, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's a good way of looking at it. And I mean, just kind of referring back to the course, is there any particular maybe modules or elements of the course that you felt like particularly prepared you for that kind of thing in terms of managing that expectation?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm always going to preach it, but the rehabilitation modules were, the rehabilitation and sort of the therapy skills with Dale. I think for me, they're the two that I've used sort of those lessons from the most. I mean, there's every sort of module and different lesson from my time at YSJ has been, coming to use.
Yeah.
Even the biomechanics, even though we didn't have like the biomechanics stations and that, like watching the playback from the videos of the games and seeing how, like, if someone's fell, see how they fell, so what the body like were doing when they were doing it, and even through training, seeing how a person takes off for acceleration. So I couldn't really pick one or two modules, but I do think that rehabilitation and therapy are the most useful for that type of scenario, going onto the pitch and just having that knowledge of what to do.
Yeah, no, that's good. And in terms of, obviously, because you went there with one opportunity out to Gibraltar and Spain to work at San Jorge, but then you obviously took loads of other opportunities whilst you were there. You mentioned, working with different organizations and teams. So in terms of someone who comes on a degree and looking to build a network of people to then go, oh, okay, this is me as a practitioner. How did you develop that network and then kind of get pulled into different bits of work and employment whilst you were there? What skills or kind of what approach did you take to do that?
So when I was out there, it was when I went to Man 62 to do some work with one of the coaches that I met when I first went over, Jamie. There was another physio for the opposite team, Gabriel. Obviously, we was having a chat at half time after we'd come back to the pitch before the second half kicked off, and it's quite literally a lot of it is word of mouth. So he told me about there's not always full physio. So if you put your name out to the coaches and other teams, they sort of come out. So a lot of it is just applying yourself really and taking that step of, my name is such and such, and like, this is what I do. This is the qualifications I've got. This is my experience. If you if you need any help or need someone to come in and do this such and such and such, like, here's my number, here's my email. Like a lot of the times they'll keep that in the back of their mind, and when they're at short notice and the physio calls in or the strength and conditioning guy, I've been there for a while. They're just, oh, we met this guy who seemed really eager, really keen. Let's give it a shot and open out. And I think that's pretty much all I did, to be honest, while I was out there. Is just ask. The worst thing that they can say is no, but the more people that you ask and talk to, the more people remember you. They remember your name and remember you being eager. If you just sat down sticking with one team, you might get opportunities if you leave because of your experience that you've gained. But I do think that what has helped me the most is just getting out, working with different teams, because then your network sort of grows by the network that they have as well, because they will refer you. So that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, well, they'd only refer you if you're doing a good job. So you obviously managed to do something right whilst so just in terms of because obviously you've had quite a few, in a limited time, really, you've had just over a year where you've been graduate or finished your degree at least, and you've had quite a mixed year in terms of experiences. Obviously back here now, and you've got online clients and you people in different areas, but also a couple of countries. You mentioned Morocco and things. What would you say is the most interesting or unique experience that you've had since graduating?
See, that's a hard one. I feel the most unique is probably being able to get out and work abroad. But I see, for me, it might not be that interesting. For me, it was like my first sort of major injury and rehabilitation sort of aspect. When I was out in Spain, we had a player have a really nasty MCL tear. And it was like my first sort of solo practitioner adventure. So for me, that was where it all sort of kicked in, and I knew this is what I want to do.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, and sometimes those to other people, it's it doesn't sound that exciting, but actually getting your hands dirty with an injury, which obviously for the player who had the injuries is a shame, but for you as a sports therapist, that's what you're trained for, and having that first opportunity to do it is unique, definitely, but obviously what you're there for. So in terms
I mean, seeing it from start to finish. Seeing it from start to finish as well. Like in training when he did it, seeing it balloon out, and then going to hospital, getting the scans. Like it's really cool. And then coming back and sitting down and right, this is what we're gonna do. Setting up that plan, and then seeing to it that it is being followed and going through all the steps of the way to the recovery. It's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So just some more general questions, really, just to finish off that might help students trying to make a choice about whether or not to come to York St John. I think you may have said this right at the start, but just to pick it up, what made you pick York St John, and what was it about the university that you thought that's the one for me?
So one of the main factors was the high graduate rate. I really like that. Obviously if you got high graduate rate, you're doing something right. Also I like that it's not necessarily a small university, but in terms of sort of others, it is quite small. So I felt like when I went and had a look around, it's got more personal sort of feel to it. So the lecturers get to know you a bit better, and you can ask for that one-to-one sort of help if you need it, which is something that really sort of rang with me. Compared to a bigger university, you want to not to pick names or out like that, but Lincoln's sort of bigger one. I had a friend who went there, and he said it was really hard to get one-on-ones with lecturers. You'd have to wait quite a long time, but whereas at YSJ, it's really good. I'd drop an email, I'd come and see have yourself or Dale, and just then and there we'd sit through things, and I thought that's really good. It's what you want from the university, not to be shunned out with the masses, but sort of brought into
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, and then in terms of just some fond memories really of York St John, what was your favourite memory of times at York St John? Anything happened that you thought, yeah, that was really good, and it'll make you fondly remember the place?
Yeah, to be honest, sure you might remember them with Harrison Green and Jack Day when we were doing the rehabilitation programs in the gym.
Yeah,
Obviously, just working with some great people, like doing a great subjective where you have some good laughs and it brings back fond memories and
yeah,
positivity. Yeah, so
yeah, good.
definitely. I think what was it we were doing? Don't know if you remember when we were doing this. It was good session that one.
Yeah, yeah. There's loads of good stuff. We try and make it, fun and enjoyable, because I think if you're having fun, you've got half a chance of learning, haven't you? So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, then just a final question then. So now you're on the other side, you're a graduate, you finished your sports therapy degree at York St John. What advice would you give to students coming towards the end of their program about making that transition into, a career in sports therapy?
Oh, try to network. Definitely try network. So send emails, get in touch with people, and just say, look, I'm going to graduate in a few years. Hopefully, like, can I come and do some work experience? Maybe, if you've already done work experience, if you can go do more, or just say, you know, get in touch with them, because if you go and reapply after you graduate, they kind of remember you, and so that helps. But the final year, just don't try and get yourself too stressed out, because I know it can get very stressful. You've got a big dissertation coming your way, and it can be a bit hectic. But just breathe, relax. You're capable. You've got this far. You can finish. But definitely just get out and see. Test the waters, see if anyone's willing to take you on. And a fair few times, I know a few people in my year did that, and they ended up working with people before they'd even graduated, just because they were that eager and keen and willing to do the work. And when after they graduated, they'd been taken on.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. All right. Well, really appreciate you giving up your time this afternoon, Connor. I know you're busy. I know you've got loads on since graduating, so appreciate you giving up your time to talk about your experiences. We're obviously really proud of you as a graduate and what you've gone on to do. So thank you very much for giving up your time, and hopefully this has been useful to people looking at York St John as a possible option. So thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thank you.